He leads us all the way, playing proper football, the Chef United way. Ale, 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 ale.
Welcome to the Chef United Way. It is Hal here with you, a Takeover Talk special. This comes after BBC Radio Sheffield senior sports journalist Rob Staten shared this sentence on the artist formerly known as Twitter. Per sources, Sheffield United's takeover has been all signed. I'm told it is done with an official announcement soon. Well, Ollie is here with me to talk about this big news. How you doing, Ollie?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you, mate. Not too bad at all. How are you doing? I don't know whether I'm excited. I'm frustrated. Who knows? But I love it anyway.
Actually, that's a good place to start, Ollie. Initial thoughts when you read what Rob had said about the takeover being, and I'll just say it again, all signed. It is done with an official announcement soon.
I was relieved. I think relieved is the right way of sort of describing that because, you know, we don't know what the long term looks like. Sam makes a great point there. You know, who knows what a new owner looks like? Are we making a deal with the devil? Are we getting in bed with a fantastic new owner? We genuinely don't know the answer to that question. But what I do know is that we don't want this continuing to hang over us. We don't want this continuing to hang over us for the next 6 months. We don't want it for the next 6 weeks. We've got January to worry about. We need the new owners. So as soon as I saw Rob's message earlier today, all I could think was, thank God. Thank God. Let's hope that this is done and that we can move forward positively, making a proper plan for January with the owners in place to do what they want to do.
Well, hold that thought, because Danny Hall then shared something of his own, and I'll quote it now. The latest on United's takeover as we know it via well-placed sources on both sides. Deal said to be 95% there, with one last but very important hurdle to be cleared, hopefully this week, end quote. Now, in Danny's article for the Sheffield Star, he goes into a bit more detail. The Star understands that while the final action of the deal has not yet taken place, the saga should reach a conclusion in the coming days. The latest snag over the bonus due to current owner Prince Abdullah if the Blades are promoted to the Premier League, as exclusively revealed by the Star recently, has been ironed out. And when the initial down payment in the deal is received and ratified, then the new regime can officially begin, with the EFL clearing US businessman Stephen Rosen and Helmai El-Touki's COH Sports Group to take over United. So that's from the article. Ollie, how do you feel about, let's just talk about that bonus due to current owner Prince Abdullah if the Blades are promoted to the Premier League being added?
I mean, look, I get it. I do get it. I think, you know, looking at where we are, looking at where the club's been, but also looking at how successful the first half of this season has been, I can completely understand why you'd want to put that bonus in. It's safeguarding yourself against future lost earnings because there is a chance the club would be coming into a big windfall in the summer. However, I also think that once you've made a deal, you've agreed a deal, you've got the deal in place, it feels a little bit to me if you're then adding clauses right at the end of the deal. If that is in course what's happened, I'm not pretend I know all the details, but it sounds as though that's what's happened. And to me, that does feel a little bit questionable, albeit I completely understand it from a personal perspective. And if I was him, probably would want to do the same because money's money.
Okay, let's play devil's advocate, right? He made the deal with a different headed consortium. In fact, if I get the names here, because I want to try and get it right. So the original consortium was revealed as Tom Page and Dominic Hughes. They were replaced by Stephen Rosen. Now, that could mean that Prince Abdullah had that deal in place with different people. And also, this has dragged on for so long, and we don't actually know whose fault that is. And Prince Abdullah might have felt like, well, look, this isn't my fault. This has dragged on so long. And now my football club's in a much stronger position. Yeah. Sure. I put all the money into this most recently. I deserve a bit more if promotion happens. If I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate there, what do you think to that? Give me your thoughts.
No, I get it. And I completely understand it. And I think there is very much that it's dragged on so long that I can completely understand why it's a different situation. You're buying a different club now to the one that you were buying last May. You know, you're not buying this battered, bullied, just broken little football club who have just had a season of getting battered. We're now a very strong position. We're doing really well. We're looking good on the pitch. We look like we're moving forward. And so I can completely understand why you'd want to renegotiate that deal. I also think, and this is a little bit PR from me, it's a good thing that it's come out that this last bit is the Prince renegotiating, because I don't know what the delays have been all this time, but we don't want the new owners to start with a terrible delay.
Well, one of the delays we do know was communication with Hilton over the purchase of the Bramall Lane Hotel. That is actually in Danny's article. And I would say check out the article for yourself. Some choice morsels that I've just shared with you there. But Ollie, if we go back to the 5th of December, COH Sports, Stephen Rosen and Helmai El Touki released a press release. And it basically shared their desire to buy Sheffield United. And, you know, I don't want to read the whole thing, but if we just go with some of the keys, we are pleased to have secured approval from the EFL and thank them for their thoughtful engagement on the process. This was the last outstanding matter, and we look forward to moving forward to completion as soon as possible. Like all Sheffield United supporters, we want to see the club building on its strong start to the season, and we believe that only a rapid completion will allow us to support Chris and the team. Now, that was then followed by a very short message from the chairman, Youssef Giansirakusa, who said, "Dear fans, we are pleased to hear that COH Sports has finally received EFL approval. We look forward to updating you in the coming days." You know, an incredibly short message. So, Ollie, it feels like the deal is not done. It feels like the deal will be done this week, or, dare I say it, not at all. But we can deduce from the nothing official side of things that this is not a done deal. We haven't had an official statement from Sheffield United. We haven't even had, like I've just read those statements from the 5th of December, statements from either of those parties today. What we have is a tweet or a post now, it's X, from Rob Staten. And you know, I know that his sources will be excellent, but it seems like surprises keep coming. I mean, Danny Hall, again, I'll go back to him because he tweeted this. I was told over the weekend that the never-ending United takeover saga looked likely to be done this week. That man, Rob Staten, reporting all is done with announcement, and he put in quotes, soon. But this whole saga has redefined that word. Understand, no announcement from Sheffield United Football Club is imminent. Who is dragging this on, Ollie? What is actually going on? What's the story behind the story?
Somebody somewhere is playing silly buggers. I think ultimately it's a balance, isn't it, between the two things? I think it's clear that from those statements that were made at the start of the month, the negotiations have continued from there around this promotion bonus, around everything else that's been going on around some of those conversations. I think what's happening today is very much a point of somebody somewhere knows that this has to be done for January. If this isn't done for the 1st of January, then it really does have a significant impact on Sheffield United's season. It affects what we can do. It affects how we can build on this fantastic position we're in. And so I think people are now starting to apply pressure. They're recognizing it's got to be done. They're saying we really need to move this forward. And I think somebody is probably doing leaks to the press to try and put that pressure onto the club, to put that pressure onto the Prince, to get this over the line and to get it agreed, and to say, we can't afford to keep waiting. It's going to be soon. And hopefully that means that it can be nearly done. Nearly done.
So do we read into this that there's potentially a new wrinkle? All right. So maybe what Rob was told was accurate at a time, and things, as we just established from reading that from Danny, things just keep changing. This saga just keeps moving. This is like the never-ending story, which did end. And crucially, this will as well. But the EFL and the new consortium, you'd imagine they'd be responsible more so for this dragging on. Maybe a couple of weeks, though. Is that possible until this is actually done?
I'll be honest, it's possible, but I don't think that helps anybody at United. And I'm going to, it's a controversial opinion. It might be true. The answer to the question might be that the new owners have taken too long to send the money for the first payment to Prince Abdullah. It might be that they weren't sure about the agreement and didn't want to put it in, and they weren't sure about the negotiation. But ultimately, I don't think that for United fans right now, we need to know. And it's controversial, but because what I think is that whatever happens, whoever's fault this is, ultimately, for PR reasons, the Prince needs to take the blame. Because what matters is the future of United. And for the fans to buy into a new owner, for the fans to get behind a new owner, we need to believe in them. We need to have confidence and optimism. And so, regardless of who's wrong or who's right or whatever's happening, the new owners need to come out of this smelling of roses, able to take us forward. And so, for me, the rights and wrongs of it, I think Abdullah probably needs to be the one who takes the hit, takes his hands up and says it's my fault, it's delayed, and lets the new owners really start on a positive footing. But that's quite controversial.
But I mean, he seems like a man of faith. He's not going to lie. If it's not his fault, I don't know whose fault it. I don't know if there's a fault. It might just be administrative. Who knows? We've never been, you and I, involved in a takeover of football club. I've no idea of the intricacies, the ins and outs.
You've never been involved in the takeover of a football club, Hal? Oh,
I know.
Why are you even here, you amateur?
I know, right? So true, so true. But now a question for you. Do you believe these new owners, this consortium, do you believe that they have more money than Sheffield United's current owner, Prince Abdullah? Do you believe that? This will also be an audio podcast, Ollie, which means you do have to speak.
Yes, of course. I forget that we do these things audio now and people have to just sit in silence. Just let the awkwardness sit. I don't know. I think that initially, for the next 12 to 18 months, they will demonstrate higher levels of investment than Prince Abdullah would demonstrate in the next 18 months. Whether long-term they've got more money to sustainably build a team that plays in the Premier League, to keep us at the level that we want to play at, is a different question. But I think with any new owner, there will be an immediate influx of money. They will try and commit as early as they can to get off on the right foot and push us forwards. So I think that we will see them put in a higher level of investment in the immediate future. And I think ultimately that's what matters for us right now, for the position of club that we are.
Okay. Well, obviously wait and see. Show me by your actions is what all Blades fans will actually say. Do you think these new owners know football?
There's no immediate indication. I'm looking at the individuals involved and looking at their engagements and football around the world. There's also the fact that this is unfair and this is entirely stereotypical. But they're American. And do Americans know football? Of course they don't know football. They don't even play it properly. They try and throw it around with their hands.
We have two fantastic Americans on this channel who do our watch-alongs.
I know. I jest how I jest. I don't know, but that doesn't matter to me, if I'm being honest. It's not about whether the actual owners themselves know football. It's about packing the group around them. We know that over the summer we were working with Des and he was coming in to try and support the club. We heard lots of rumours about his engagement, his conversations with Wilder.
Or he wasn't working with us.
He wasn't working with us at all, Hal. He never did a thing.
Thank you.
But getting the right people in those situations, being able to have those conversations, making sure that you've got football people around you, that's more important to me. So the individuals themselves, they don't need to know football. They need to know investments. They need to know money. They need to know what football investment looks like and how you look at football governance and finance and ownership. That should be the bits that's their expertise. The on the pitch, the bits that actually affect a football team on the grass. That can be done by others. That can be done by getting the right people in around you. And I do think that's one thing that Prince Abdullah has never been able to quite get right. He's never had the right structure in the football club sat underneath him, being able to manage that side of the game. Too much power has been given and owned by the managers. I think we will likely see that change, but I think that's a positive. And I think that gives us a much better chance of sustainable success going forward if they can get that right and get the right people in around them.
I do think actually, yeah, if you are involved in a business and you don't know that much about the intricacies and you just put around you people that do, that's actually a really smart strategy. And you can almost just sit back. Actually, your life's probably a little bit easier like that as well. And you also don't take the flack if it goes as wrong. But I do want to think about this. If this deal is to go ahead, how will you look back on the ownership of Prince Abdullah? Has he been a good owner? I posed that to you, Ollie, initially, but let me know your thoughts if you're watching this in the comments.
yes, I think he's been a good owner for Sheffield United. I think that there are frustrations that all of us have felt over the time. I think there have been moments, we look at the points deduction, for example, this season, we look at some of the spending that we've done in terms of the players brought in and how we've used the Premier League money over his time at the club. And there are things there that we would say are frustrations, that are disappointing, that we feel haven't gone well. But this is the most successful period of my entire life supporting Sheffield United. We have never been better than this. When the Prince arrived with his first 50% in the club, we were in the lowest, worst period of my entire life supporting United. We've gone from that to the best period of my life. You cannot underestimate the fact that he has been a driver behind that. It might be that, yes, for part of that, the club was on Chris Wilder's back and had a rocket strapped to it. But he still had to fund some of the signings. He still had to support Wilder. He had to work with him. He has been a massive success for United. Look at some of the off-field stuff. We have all of the ground, the hotel, the training pitch is now all together. He's owned that. He's brought it back together. He's put in place the plan, the funding, the purchases for us moving to a new training ground, getting that set up and getting that off the pitch. I think he's been a massive success for United. However, I also think that it is the right time for him to move on, because I think he's taken us as far as he's going to take us. I think he's done everything we could ever ask of him within his amount of money, within his funding model, within his gift. But even he himself recognises that it's not within his gift to make us a sustainable Premier League team. We need a little bit more. And so we have to take the gamble on a new team. But we have to do that with a massive thanks to Prince Abdullah for what's come before, because it has been very successful.
Didn't raise ticket prices when he could have done. I think that's something we should think about. It's not always the case. You need to look over at S6 to see what you can witness from ownership, and we'll have to wait and see. And if this happens, do you think Prince Abdullah would still like to be involved in some capacity, even if he sells the club? We might not be saying goodbye.
It's always been my impression. I don't know. Unlike, I'll throw my hands up. I've never met Prince Abdullah, unlike yourself, Hal. I know that you've had conversations with him in the past. But I've not done that. I don't know what he would think, but it's always been my impression that he actually does love United. It's been my impression that he really enjoys running this football club, being part of this football club. At the start of these negotiations, when we were hearing more about it in the summer, we got the impression that he was saying he wanted to stay and continue to be a part of the next stage of Sheffield United. So I certainly think he does want to continue to be involved. And I don't think we should begrudge him that, because I think, like I say, the success he's had during his time with the club, the commitment that he and his family have put into the club as well, when you look at what's happening with the women's team and the developments that they've had over the last 5 years as well, that should be rewarded. And I think it would be nice if he does continue to be involved. However, I don't know what the politics of that look like with a new ownership team wanting maybe a fresh start.
Now, this has dragged on for so long. Do you believe that Prince Abdullah actually wants to sell Sheffield United?
No, I don't.
So is it purely he recognises that he can't? If he was 3 times more wealthy than he was, he wouldn't even be entertaining.
If he was fifth in line for the throne and not whatever number he is in line for the throne, I think he would still be the owner of Sheffield United and would want to be the man to take us forward. Because if he had the money, I think he would love nothing more than driving Sheffield United forward. I think this is a pragmatism and a recognition that the club can't progress with him in charge any further than they currently have done. I think he's probably, I talk about how bruised I am and how much pain I feel for the last 2 seasons we've had in the Premier League. Getting battered all the time, not being competitive, feeling like we were just turning up to make up the numbers because we didn't have the money, the funding. I'm sure he's felt that as well. And he's used that experience to recognize that we need a little bit more than he can give us right now. And I actually thank him for recognizing that, because it would be so easy to hold on and be happy just yo-yoing, continuing to have an embarrassing season and then having a pretty good one and then embarrassing and a pretty good one and never progressing. He's recognized that if we want to progress, we need a little bit more. And I do thank him for knowing that.
All right. Final questions. If you're watching live, get them in the comments before we go. So if it does take 10 days, which is something that's been floated around as like the longest this could possibly take, I saw that on social media earlier, that would, or even 2 weeks, let's just say for argument's sake, but that would still be okay. We still wouldn't be in January and we wouldn't be at the time of the next transfer window. But it would probably mean that we would have to go with likely the plans that are in place at the moment, because it'll just be a very, very quick turnaround. If there are going to be deals done, how many deals do Sheffield United need to do in January to get us over the line? What are the key positions and how many?
Oh, a nasty question, because I think United are in a fantastic position. We've got such a good squad. Well, a good team at the moment. We're playing really well. We're pushing ourselves forward, but everyone will recognize that there's a lack of depth. There are some positions that we just are really struggling to try and fill. I would really like to see us get another player to play central midfield, because we need somebody who can interchange with Vinny Souza. We saw against Plymouth that, playing with Peck and Davis, as good players as they are, we lose so much when Souza isn't there. So I think we need one in midfield. I think we need a left winger who can interchange with Callum O'Hare / Gus Harmer, because I don't think they're fit enough to continue to play every minute of every game. We've got to have the opportunity to give them a rest, to give them a chance to have a break, because there's just too much football being asked of them at the minute. So that's two. I think we need a striker, because we are still light and we know the injury issues that all three of our current strikers have got. So that's three without giving it too much thought. I controversially would potentially think we might want a right back, not to
I can see
start,
that. No, I can
but
see
I
that.
think
Actually,
a right back, because of, we've got two, but one injury to Siriki, we're down to one. Gilchrist, is he more naturally going to want to play centre back? That did seem to suit him when he's fit in there. So I could see a right back.
He's the next John Terry.
He could be the next John Terry. I think we need a minimum of 4. But I
We're not
would
going to
like
get
a couple more than that.
I just don't see that many happening in January. Also, you don't want to upset the apple cart. That's not easy to say. It's going really well at the moment. The team cohesion is really good. If you bring too many in, I remember when Neil Warnock was a fan of bringing in your Jeff Horsfields, your Adi Akinbayes, and upsetting that Shipley, Webber, Cabba setup, and we nearly faltered. Chris has asked, let me ask you guys, do you think under these new owners we will be any more successful and competitive in the Premier League? I mean, Chris, I'll just answer this one because I've asked Ollie all the questions. We know nothing about them. We don't know their intentions. We don't know if they know football. We don't know if they love football. We don't know their finances. And really, in 2024, that's what it comes down to. And the grass isn't always greener. I do think we have to temper some excitement of a takeover. Just because it is a takeover doesn't mean it's going to be a better takeover. And I really do think maybe in years to come, we might look back at these last few years and say, we had an owner that didn't take the P. And I've mentioned the ticket prices. I think stuff like that's important. What we do need is we need owners that are going to improve the academy and take us to that next level, both on and off the pitch, and improve the ground and the surrounding areas. You need to watch with Rob McElhenney and Ryan, the other one, with Wrexham, what they've done around the ground as well to improve the area, which makes the whole thing just so much more attractive for fans and to attract players.
On it though, Hal, actually, you make a really good point there. And I was just talking to Gab Sutton about this half an hour ago, where we were talking about investment ownership. And people laugh at it, but like a lot of the American owners that have come in, there's two things that they seem to have as a staple of their ownership, or at least the successful ones do, which is that sort of investment in a wider area. The plan that the new owners have got at Birmingham is insane. When you look at it, it's a complete revitalization of the entire city centre. Now, I know that you're off in Greece now doing your fancy things, but some of us are stuck here having to look out of this window. And I do think that if somebody did come along and really put that investment into the city, really put that investment into Sheffield and not just the club, that would be fantastic, because the city really needs it at the moment. And I think that would be just as important as anything they do on the footballing side. And it would make a huge difference to, hopefully, to all of us, but not you, because you're off sunning yourself.
Bravo, Segala. Right, SB says, what's your gut feeling, Hal? Feels like the perfect time to move on. Surely we are in the optimum position to be sold. If we keep our identity, and credit to Prince Abdullah for keeping to that, we'll be in a better position, and so will he. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I do think it is the perfect time. The stock will arguably never be higher. For Prince Abdullah, he actually would leave on a high, and that hasn't always been the case under his tenure. So the stress, does he need the stress as well? I mean, surely that the poor guy can't even go on Twitter without everyone telling him who to buy and what to do and what he's done wrong. He can't enjoy a game now, which I know he doesn't come to the ground, but he watches every single game. Surely after every game, he's got the headaches of if there's an injury, like, right, well, I've got to sort that out now. And coming up to January, right, I've got to fund this. In the future, he'll just be able to watch Sheffield United as a fan. And he will be a fan for life. him and his family have taken Sheffield United to their hearts. So I think it's the perfect time. I think it makes sense. But I don't know about these new owners because I literally don't know about these new owners. So I'm not going to get too excited just yet. I do think we need a lot more information. And then we can make a decision from there. But like I say, it'll be show me by your actions. Has your channel attempted to reach out to the new prospective owners yet? No, largely because I would imagine NDAs will be in place for a while until things are ratified and signed off. They wouldn't be able to talk anyway. We need a new owner to get rid of them polls. Of course, you're talking about on the COP. I'd just like to make that very clear.
Say, woohoo! Things got extreme fast.
Not that kind of channel. So yeah, I think that would be good. My view was often obstructed back in the day when I was on the COP by those big white poles. Right. I think we're going to leave it there. Ollie, final thoughts on what we thought initially was going to be a day when we're reporting on a takeover happening. It now looks like the wait continues, and we will just have to see what happens. And I said it before, I'll say it again. I think it's either going to happen in the next 10 days or so, or not at all.
Yeah, and I think we need that decision. And I think that's still my main reaction is that either way, it goes through, it doesn't go through, whatever happens, we need a solution to this now. We need to know our plan for January, whether that's new owners, old owners, whoever it is. We need one vision, one voice driving us forward to say, this is what we're getting in January. This is how we're planning for the rest of the season, because it's so important we get this right now, because we're in an unbelievable position. Let's not throw it away. Let's not waste it. Let's build on it in January with one person driving us forward. So rightly or wrongly, I'm just excited for this saga to be over and for us to know what Sheffield United looks like going forward.
Thank you very much for watching or listening. If you are not yet subscribed to our audio podcast, please do. You can get it wherever you get podcasts. Ollie, thank you so much. Thank you, each and every one of you, for partaking in this content.
Ollie, ollie, ollie.